We are now, I believe, 135-ish days into the Young Thug / YSL trial that's taking place here in Atlanta. And I can't for the life of me figure out how much longer it's going to take for this prosecution team to get their act together. I don't know how you put on the longest, most expensive, most elaborate trial to ever take place in the state of Georgia's history, and you still can't even get your own damn witnesses under control. Why would you continue to call people who are absolutely hostile to your cause? Why would you keep calling people who absolutely shred you when they are up on the stand? And from the beginning, they said this was going to be a very long trial, probably 2 years. And I can understand why, because you've got ADA Love, who is up there asking questions, and just the way she talks to people and the questions she asks, she goes off on these weird tangents. And I'm still trying to figure out what she's talking about. Last week, she had a bunch of people come in who were, police investigators and crime scene technicians. And she's asking them questions about crimes that have nothing to do with anything that's in the indictments for Young Thug and his co-defendants, right? She's asking about these random other crime scenes because perhaps there was a bullet casing at that one crime scene that might match a bullet casing at one of these crime scenes. But guess what? If you didn't fucking charge them with that other one, then we shouldn't be talking about it. And you're wasting taxpayers' dollars, and you're wasting all of our time, and these poor witnesses are getting up there talking about shit that has nothing to do with anything. And you got 6 defendants sitting in the courtroom every single day having to hear all of this nonsense that has nothing to do with them. But this last week, there were 2 key witnesses that I want to talk about. So the first one is Antravia Smith. She was only up there for about 10 minutes, but she accomplished more in that 10 minutes than I've seen anybody accomplish in a really long time. And again, it just goes to the root of this prosecution team not understanding how their witnesses are going to respond on the stand. For those of you who came into my comments on an earlier video and said that Kenneth Copeland, aka Lil Woody, was very much like Kaiser Sose, well, Antravia Smith, she's this trial's Mona Lisa Vito. And if you don't know who that is, let me remind you. Here's Antravia, just giving a couple of quick answers, and then I'm going to show you the reference that I'm referring to.
You were dating. Did Shell stay at your house sometimes?
He visit. He didn't stay.
Did he ever hide out at your house?
He visit. I just answered your question.
I understand. Did you know Donovan Thomas?
I did.
Okay. Were you close with him?
Yes.
All right. And were you able to observe Kelvin's interaction with him?
I wasn't.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of whether Kelvin was close to him?
Nope. I do not.
At the time, did you know an Antonio Sledge?
Of course I did.
Why do you say of course you did?
Because I dated him.
All right. Were you dating him at...
She kind of reminds me a little bit of this.
Ms. Vito, did you take this picture?
You know I did.
And what is this picture of?
You know what it's of.
Okay, so anyway, I've had my fun. Let me move on to Quindarius Zachary, because he is the big witness both last week and this week. And there's a history here that really, frankly, kind of pisses me off a little bit. This man was in the hospital getting blood transfusions because he has sickle cell, and he was being treated. And in a really bullshit maneuver, they picked him up the minute he got out of the hospital and brought him in on a material witness warrant, which means that they feel like he's got such pivotal testimony, and their fear is that he would flee or he wouldn't show, and that they would not be able to get the information that he has out of him or any other witness. So it feels like this guy was 3 steps outside of Grady when they fucking swooped in and picked him up and then put him in Fulton, which I said earlier that Fulton is like, if you were ever sent to hell, it would be like the 3rd door on the left. Like, it is a nasty place. And you don't take a sick man fresh out of the hospital. Grown-ass, perfectly healthy, able-bodied men struggle in Fulton. You do not put a sick gentleman who needs medical care in that type of facility. But they did it because they were so convinced that his testimony was so compelling, they didn't want to risk him getting away. And his lawyer fought like hell. His lawyer said, this is not where he should be. Let's get him out. They did eventually get him out. He went back to the hospital. Then I believe he went to his mom's or his grandma's or somebody's house, kind of under like a house arrest situation where they can monitor him and make sure he doesn't flee. So this is, I think, an overreaction of the prosecution to kind of keep him in their grip so that he will be forced to come in and testify. Now, Quindarius Zachary, who is also known as Lil D, he is somebody who had already been indicted on other crimes, and he has an immunity agreement. They gave him an immunity agreement to come in and testify. So the expectation is that he comes in and he testifies. But here's the problem. Having just come out of the hospital, and this is what his lawyer argued up and down till he was blue in the face, is this guy's heavily medicated. According to his lawyer, he takes 20 milligrams of Oxy for his pain every 4 to 6 hours. Now, I don't know about you, but Oxy knocks me on my fucking ass. So they're arguing in court, well, that shouldn't impact his memory. It shouldn't impact his ability to testify. Well, it would impact my ability not to be comatose. So how the fuck do they expect this guy to sit up on the witness stand and give good testimony? But the defense attorneys argued, Max Shard particularly, who is the lawyer for Shannon Stillwell, he stood up and he argued and said, wait a second, I can't cross-examine a witness that's under the influence of this type of medication. Max Shard is definitely looking forward to cross-examining Little D, because if you've been paying attention to what he did to Kenneth Copeland, this guy gives a master class in how to cross-examine a witness who doesn't want to talk. So he's looking forward to it. But his argument is, this is unfair to my client that I cannot appropriately confront his accuser, because if this guy is so heavily medicated, and again, they talked in court about him being on Percocet and on morphine, that he's in so much pain he can barely sit there. If you look at the videos, the poor guy's like this. Like, he looks like he's about to pass out. Looks like he's falling asleep. I would not be awake if all that medication was in my system. And they're expecting this guy to testify. It's a disaster. And again, this should be a mistrial because these defendants aren't getting a fair prosecution. They're not getting a fair trial. At one point, ADA Love tells the judge that she's just really frustrated because she feels that Quindarius Zachary's behavior is hindering the prosecution's ability to present key evidence to the jury. Bitch, he's half asleep. How about you wait until he's off some sort of medication? They have over 100 witnesses. Why not call someone else? Like, Jesus Christ, the way they're doing this is so backwards. And all the prosecution is doing is making every single subsequent witness more hostile to them. They're asking him about social media. And at one point, she's like, do you watch TikTok videos? And the guy's like, TikTok? Like, he's insulted everything she says. I start to feel like her questions are more in defense of her own reputation. Like, she's working to redeem herself because with every witness, she looks worse and worse and worse. So all of her questions are like, didn't you tell me this? And didn't we discuss this? And did I ever ask you this? And did I ever say this to you? It's like she's trying to redeem her own reputation instead of getting to the points of this case. If you have evidence against Young Thug and Shannon Stillwell and all the other defendants, if you have evidence against them, then these witnesses should be talking about the evidence that they have. And you're dancing around it and around it and around it. And I still don't know what you've proven to me. So I'm going to keep waiting. But at the end of the day, this trial's gone on 135 plus days. And I'm still no closer to understanding if we have a case against these guys or not. And there has been plenty of opportunity where this thing should have been a mistrial.